And I ate, I would say, a lot of chicken at that time. I would say shed loads of it. I ate a ton of fried chicken. We used the customers in the pub to test this bread, to test the bread out on them. Do you like it like this? Is it crispy enough like that? Is it too soggy like this?
Were they being held down at the time?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever watched anyone eating it and gone, Jesus Christ, that was amazing. It happens all the time because you can buy fried chicken anywhere. But unless we're not doing what we set out to do, unless you're eating it and going, I need that again. Our relationships develop through multiple businesses. And we end up finding ourselves with what we believe is the best fried chicken in the country.
And for over a year, it was well over a year, we were just cooking chicken randomly, testing different versions of bread.
So this is the most exciting version of the Flipdish Takeaway podcast. Firstly, because it's my first time running the show. Secondly, because we're joined by Matt and Saul from the Bok Shop. So the first question I have for you both is, who are you? Tell me about the relationship. Tell me about the foundations of the Bok Shop.
We got married in Saul and I have known each other a long time. We met probably over 20 years ago, I think.
It is.
I was buying light bulbs from him at the time and running a nightclub. And our relationships developed through multiple businesses. And we end up finding ourselves with what we believe is the best fried chicken in the country.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself, Saul.
I mean, basically, he drove me mad.
Any good business
and it was great. No,
right?
what it was that I am technical. He understands financial and management. And so together we managed to make nightclubs work for quite a few years. Wow. Bars. We had a couple of bars. We then had pubs, and we did pubs, and that worked really well, and we enjoyed doing that. But when we got the opportunity to try and bring what's quite common in London but didn't exist in Brighton, which was another level to fried chicken, to Brighton, we kind of jumped at the idea. We thought, that sounds like a great idea, because one of my favourite things is fried chicken wings. I love my wings. And we gave it a go. And Matt had found this site in Brighton that was very near one of our nightclubs, and it looked really cool. Then we kind of worked out, how do we fit a restaurant into this site that it contains everything else, which then turned out that we actually needed to pretty much rebuild the whole building. So we completely rebuilt all the structure of the building, put in steels. At one point there was a giant hole in the floor. That wasn't very safe, because I walked in the middle of the night looking for something and nearly fell through it.
Did you know this before you?
No,
I think we've learned a lot since those days. Don't mess the building around.
Yeah. The cost of messing buildings around is prohibitive, and actually it's taught us that if you can find a building that doesn't need too much mucking around with, you're probably going to be better off. Right. When you've got to pretty much rebuild it from scratch, then it becomes quite a burden really to the business, because at some point the business has got to look at, can it pay off that cost? But it was great. We got it open, we got it over the line, and we then evolved that fried chicken concept. So what started off with what we thought people wanted turned out to be not quite what people wanted. So one of the things that I've always loved in fried chicken is the chicken pieces, the chicken thighs, chicken legs. You know, you can order those in some of the big famous fried chicken joints. We found people didn't really want them. So it was really quite strange. You know, we'd find that the worst selling item was a chicken thigh on the bone. People didn't want it, so we were cooking, or a drumstick. And we were cooking these things. They were delicious. They were sitting in our hot cupboard and not selling. And then one of the things that I thought would be the biggest seller was the chicken wings. And we love chicken wings, and we're quite famous for the quality of our chicken wings. They're amazing, but they're not the biggest seller. They're not the thing that everyone wants. What everyone wanted was chicken tenders, which is if they're made correctly, it's the inner goujon of chicken breast that sits under the chicken breast. So it's the juiciest part of the chicken. It's got no bone in it. It's very tender.
You're selling it very well. I want one now.
Yeah, and everyone, that's what people want the most. They absolutely adore them, and they are delicious. But from my point of view as someone who loves chicken and loves chicken wings, I think they're slightly lacking in the full flavour of chicken, which I think is actually probably what a lot of people want, is not having that full flavour of chicken. And so when we developed what we call the Bok 2.0 menu, We got rid of the chicken pieces and put in the chicken tenders. All the way along, we were still using chicken thigh meat, but without the bone, without the skin for our burgers. Again, that's because of taste. More than anything else, the chicken thigh meat is because of taste. Lots of people do it with chicken breast. Problem with chicken breast, big piece of breast, you fry it, it goes dry. You've got a very short amount of time between that being a really delicious, juicy bit of chicken to being a dried up, not particularly pleasant bit of chicken. And again, if you've tried some of the large competitors out there that do use chicken breast, you will know that immediately. So the chicken thigh stays juicy, it's got more flavour in it, and that's why we still do that. But other than that, we never did a huge amount of change. We learned a few sauces, didn't we, that didn't work.
I was going to say, is it the chicken or is it the sauce?
Both.
Right.
Both.
I think you've got to have fresh, high quality chicken. You've got to have a very good breader, and a lot of our investment in time and money has gone into experimenting with breaders. I don't know how long. How long did it take?
About a year and a half to 2 years. Before we opened, we were already, because we got the idea, and then we were like, how do we do this? And then we had a pub at the time in Brighton Marina, and we bought a small chicken pressure fryer, and for over a year, it was well over a year, we were just cooking chicken randomly, testing different versions of breader. And I ate, I would say, a lot of chicken at that time. I would say shed loads of it. I could swear a bit there because it was loads. You're
welcome to.
Oh, really? I ate a shit ton of fried chicken. And what we did was we used the customers in the pub to test this bread, to test the breader out on them. Do you like it like this? Is it crispy enough like that? Is it too soggy like this?
Were they
Does
being
this
held
dry
down at the time?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, you can imagine your average punter in a pub going, "No, I don't want to try your fried chicken
give me everything.
for free." and we kept developing that breader, and it until we got to the point where we went. The two issues with breader is, number one, it's got to be repeatable. So you've got to have an ingredient list that easily can be repeated. And then the second thing is it's got to work. And I suppose the third thing, it's got to be affordable. Yeah. You can make lots of things really great, but push it to a point where when you factor in the cost, customers aren't going to pay for it. They're just going to go, well, it's great chicken, but I could only do that once in a year rather than once in a month or once in a week.
And especially at the moment, I think that's a problem every restaurant's facing, or any food production is facing, is the cost, obviously, of the staff, but the product cost is becoming astronomical to make it competitive.
Have you had to shift suppliers at any point, or was it always consistent from day one?
No, we've moved.
It's fluid.
Sure.
It's fluid all the time. So just to put it into perspective, since opening the new shop in Horsham, the flood of suppliers that have come back in or have sort of just knocked on the door again and said, by the way, we're still here. Can we quote you for all your dry store veg products, things like that? One of the things I'm the most reluctant to ever change is our butcher.
Right.
We have a fantastic local butcher who it's a family run, independent, and what they don't know about me wasn't worth knowing. They fight for us every day to find the very best chicken from the local UK-based farms. Sometimes it's not as local as we'd want it to be. So we're getting chicken from Suffolk, but we always aim to get UK grown chicken. It's got to be Red Tractor approved. It's got to be obviously fresh as it possibly can be. And it's got to be graded correctly. And what that means is it's got to be the right size. So what we don't want are little chicken wings like that. They've got to be big, fat, jumbo wings. The breast, the inner goujon that sits under the breast has to be a decent size. So again, if they're too small a chicken, like caged hens that come from to big supermarkets and things like that, you'll never get a big goujon. So the chicken tenders will always look small. And the chicken thighs have to be at least 120 to 130 grams. Because if they're any smaller than that, you put that in a burger and you look at me and go, oh, it's a very nice burger, but where's the rest of it?
I think there's an additional problem, not only with producing a product which isn't good enough, but when you try to counteract that small size in a kitchen, you end up overcompensating, which really affects your GP, really affects your markup. I remember in the early days we were having this problem with a different butcher, and they kept sending in smaller thighs. No one was telling us, and the kitchen was compensating by putting 2 in. But of course, that's meaning that we're almost doubling
Yeah.
the price of producing that product, which makes the whole thing with the margins that you're working on in this business almost. It's not worth doing.
Who controls the size, the quality and quantity? Is it from your side or is it the butchers? Is that the trust that you have with them?
We have to trust the butchers that what they deliver on a daily basis. So every single day except for Sunday, fresh chicken is brought in. Chicken has a 4-day shelf, but we make sure that we're getting fresh chicken every day. It's marinated straight away. So we marinate it in real buttermilk, not a powdered buttermilk. And
you're proud of that one.
We are because again, a lot of companies will use a powdered buttermilk. It's a lot cheaper,
right?
But we use a fresh buttermilk.
Yeah,
it's marinated for at least 12 hours. We try and get to 24 if we can. Depends on how busy we are, and we rely on our butcher. They've got to supply us with the best. Having said that, it can go wrong. We've had, will go wrong. They're human.
Yeah.
The chap that was dealing with that delivery that day didn't quite prepare the fillets, the thigh fillets properly. And because they're local and because they care, I can phone them up pretty much any time of day and go, hi, there's a problem. And they'll find a solution for me. Yeah. They won't just go, oh, sorry, mate, we'll deal with it tomorrow. They'll find a solution. They'll make sure that that's fixed and they'll get us the right chicken. And that's really important to us.
That's customer service right there. Yeah.
Which means that we don't buy the cheapest chicken. I can save, I was doing a comparison recently. If I wanted to, we could save probably about 20 to 25% on the cost of chicken. That's a big chunk.
And a lot of operators would make that decision.
And a lot of people would. But when I look at what I'm charging for the chicken, if I don't give the best, then I can't charge what we're charging. And the chicken isn't the only factor involved in that. So there's all the production of everything else. So to warrant the charge that I'm asking for, to warrant what I'm going to ask a customer to pay for a burger, wings, tenders, I've got to make sure that our butcher's giving us the best. And therefore it's worth paying extra to get that service and to get the quality.
Yeah.
That goes across to our sauces as well. So one of the things we learned in the early days was that making sauces on site, all our sauces are homemade, a number of award-winning ones as well. But in order to make those on site, it allowed for such a variance in quality and textures and flavours as well, that it simply lacked the consistency a product that's roll-outable would need. So we centralised the production of it. So all those sauces are now made by a separate kitchen that we own on our property. And that's shipped out. And that's absolutely integral because those sauces, as you identified earlier, are what makes pushes it over the edge from just being a good piece of crunchy fried chicken with a nice coating and a nice flavour to being something that is out of this world.
Yeah. If you could just list the ingredients that go into the sauces, that'd be great.
I mean, to put it into, if you want, I can't give you the exact ingredients, but for example, in our buffalo sauce, it is made with real honey. There's a shed load of honey in that. There's a shed load of fresh butter in it. There's ingredients that are all fresh, but there's some secret ingredient in the buffalo sauce. A lot of ginger, which is quite unusual. Okay. So it's fresh ginger that's fried in butter. Yeah. That's how we start the process.
Stop there because you'll be giving.
Well, no, then I can't tell you what else goes into it. But to give you that idea, it's fresh ginger. It's expensive stuff. It's fried in butter. It's expensive stuff. Butter's expensive nowadays. And then you're putting in honey, not just sugar. Yeah. So therefore, to make it sweet, you get that really nice, rich honey flavour. That costs money, but it won us awards, so it's worth it. And we know it's good because
you said there was a mate who can drink it by the litre.
Yes, so I've got a friend of mine who is so crazy about it. He'll come in and ask for the dip pots, and he'll literally stand there at the counter drinking these dip pots of the buffalo sauce. It is actually very Moorish because there's also quite a lot of vinegar in it, and so the vinegar with the tanginess and the sweet, it does go down quite well. Yeah. And you can dip anything in the buffalo sauce.
It's almost amazing the way that you speak about, firstly, the chicken, which is for a chicken shop is important, but the sauce too. Is that consistency at every single level? So from the drinks to the sauces to the chicken, is that something that you want to? Because I think, Matt, earlier you were saying that you want someone to leave going, that was great,
I think it's
right.
it's very unusual that someone doesn't eat this product and go, fuck, that tasted incredible. And I know every business owner says that, we've got a good product, but I don't think I've ever watched anyone eating it and gone, Jesus Christ, that was amazing. It happens all the time, and I think that is the purpose of it, because you can buy fried chicken anywhere, but unless we're not doing what we set out to do, unless you're eating it and going, shit, I need that again, like the crack of chicken.
It was actually quite funny. We've got obviously a new manager in our new Horsham shop. He really lovely guy, chap called Dean. And when we interviewed him, I said to him, this is really special fried chicken. We're doing it to another level. The sauces are and all the things that we've just talked about. And obviously he's nodding along, going, yeah, of course, guys, yeah, whatever. This guy's worked in quite a few major establishments over the years. I'm sure he's heard all the stories. And then once we offered him the job, part of the job would be to go to our Brighton store and learn how to make the fried chicken and how to run a site. And he came back from the Brighton store and phoned me up and he said, shit, I've just tried your fried chicken. You weren't bullshitting. And I was like, yeah, there you go. And that the fact that he obviously took it as with a pinch of salt, what we were telling him at an interview, and then him actually discovering it and going, yeah, actually, this really is another level. Yeah. Made me feel really good, because then obviously he's enthusiastic. And when he was interviewing staff for his shop, he was infusing that to every member of staff, so that when they're coming on board and they're trying the fried chicken for the first time, they're going, oh my God, this really is great. And then they're gonna sell it to the customers. People will walk in and people go, what's this like? And they can be excited about it rather than going, yeah, it's all right, it's fried chicken.
But it's the belief in the value of your own product, which customers see, right? They walk in, and if you're excited to sell them a chicken tender, absolutely, they'll come back and they'll remember that as part of the experience. I
think you've got to also be passionate about making sure people experience it. I think that definitely, when you look at delivery sales, I think making sure it's very easy to chuck stuff in a box that's going out. You're not giving it to someone there and then. You've got to think ahead. And I think making sure our product reaches a customer in the same aesthetic and flavourful way that we want it in the store is paramount. I think there's a number, getting people passionate about that is another step as well.
Yeah, our crew in Brighton really understand that. They're taught all the time, don't close the lid until you're happy with the way it looks. If it didn't come out right, bin it, start again. Because that's you're sat at home, you've waited 40 minutes for the delivery driver to find your house. You want to know that when you open that box, it was worth that wait. And so it really has got to sit in that box beautifully.
Because you just said the team are trained. How important is that part of it? So the new general manager, Dean, coming in, spending time in Brighton, is that the same level of training that you will give to most of the new starters? How does that approach?
Every member of staff has to be trained in the sense they all have to be taught. Now, not all of it can be done in just a session, sit down, like a classroom. You can't really just expect that to work. We obviously did do that. We did a whole couple of days whilst the restaurant was still empty before we'd finished building it, and we sat them all down and we were just testing things in the kitchen and getting them to try things. But that only gives you so much. You've got to do it on site all the time, and the only way you'll get that is the more experienced people like myself, like Matthew, turning up and going, this is what we're talking about. This is this sauce. This is what's in this sauce. This is how it should taste. So when a customer asks you, what is this sauce? You've got a way of describing it that's translatable to the customer. And that's part of the training. But again, the training's also, what you can't train a person that's working with you is how to be affable and friendly and everything else. So that's key. First, the crew have to be nice.
You've got to have the right recruitment tool in the first place. You've got to recruit the right people and give them the skills to sell your product.
Yeah, I mean, we've met some lovely, wonderful people that came along for interviews in the opening of the new store, but some of them you could tell, well, they'd be great back of house, but they wouldn't want to talk to a customer, and that happens. People are shy perhaps, and maybe some of them you can cajole it out of them. Some of them you go, yeah, you'd be great in the kitchen.
But it does make a big difference though, doesn't it? Because there's that whole cliche putting hospitality back into hospitality. It's quite typical now. You walk in and You see the self-serve kiosks, which you know are going to speed up your order, but you miss the element of the human touch, the smile, if you need anything else, I can help with that. And that is hospitality. I remember, as great as the food could be, the experience is massive too.
Yeah, I mean, we're older people, and so QSR concepts were relatively alien to us, and I think to this day seem slightly obscure. I mean, we are a QSR. If you go into our Brighton store, you can order using screens. You can order using a kiosk. You can order using an app,
QR code,
or a QR code, and it's fine and it's good and it generates business. And a lot of people do want to order that way because they're in a dash. I remember I was walking through Reading about a year ago, and I was staying in a hotel there, and I was walking through, and it was late at night. It was really busy, really busy on the street, and it was, I don't know, about 7 or 8 at night, and people were out and about coming out the train station. And I remember walking back to my hotel and seeing all these people in places like Tim Hortons or places like ordering screens, and it was so busy, and there were people everywhere, but everyone seemed lonely because they weren't talking to each other. And I think that's true of hospitality, is that although we run a QSR business, especially with Horsham and any future sites we open like that, having a restaurant where people can speak to people is absolutely paramount. As a business owner, a computer cannot upsell in the same way a person can. And that guest experience, that customer interaction, that entertainment value you get is utterly paramount to getting that 5-star review on Google. And I think, when people of our age go out to a lot of places nowadays, we do miss that experience, that interaction. And one of the great benefits of having an interaction with the server is that server gets the opportunity to tell you how much they care about the product and make sure that they're going, this tastes fucking amazing. You've got to taste this. Yeah. And that passion they can deliver is not only going to increase that customer's that guest experience of their visit, but it's also going to allow us to sell them more, which essentially is what we're there to do.
Yeah. But I love what you say, because there's the whole idea that a quick serve, a QR code, for example, it's replacing the human interaction, where the way that I like to position it is that if someone comes over and tries to take my order and says, what do you want? They take it away, they start making it in the kitchen, and they come back and take my bill. That's not hospitality. Me walking in and someone saying, it happens very rarely and not that memorable. If they say, hey, Will, how are you? Yeah. If you need me, I'll be around. Yeah. This is my recommendation. This is a special we've got on right now. That's the element of hospitality that I love seeing put back in.
The delivery of food and drinks to a table is relatively, in my opinion, is secondary to everything else that goes with it. Yeah. Our food's always good, but you can make up for a bad culinary experience with everything else. But more than that, it's, anyone can carry food to a table, but there is that X factor in hospitality that makes people leave somewhere going, fuck me, that was good, I'm going back there.
It also gives you a chance to fix things when things don't go 100%. You can have a situation where it didn't go 100%. As it happens, I got a 5-star review the other day in our Horsham branch, where I got mentioned by name. Thank you very much to the people that gave me that. Their original order went wrong. I put my hands up to it. One of the items got left on the pass too long. It had gone cold. By the time I hadn't realised, I'd taken it to the table. It wasn't good enough. And they quite rightly said, I think it's a bit cold. And I was like, oh my, really is. I'm really sorry about that. Take it back to the kitchen, make that whole table again. Yeah. Great. Went back, apologised. Obviously, I comped them some drinks because I wanted them to wait. I didn't want them to feel like, I don't really care. It's very important that I do care. Yeah. That you can only get with human interaction. Yeah. My going to a table and saying, I'm so sorry, we did screw up. It's totally my fault. Let me make this right for you. No computer will ever get that level.
It's definitely very important for a smaller business as well. I go into McDonald's and they fuck my order up, which they inevitably do in New Haven McDonald's. New Haven McDonald's, fuck you, you're terrible. Yeah. Every time if I go into a restaurant or a QSR restaurant, a big chain, and they mess it up, it's not going to stop me going back. One, because they're everywhere. Two, because it's addictive. Yeah. And for whatever reason. But if you go into a small independent and someone messes up, the only thing that's saving that is the human interaction.
Yeah.
You know, it matters more for smaller operators.
Yeah, I say this quite a lot because you mentioned about the quick service side of the Bok Shop, but it's quick service, the name's in the game where if it's fast and it's cheap, you're pretty happy with the KFCs, the Mackies, whoever it may be. But with your business, it's the ownership, the pride and the identity of who you are.
Yeah.
And it's also, so you're talking about and in fact, it was a conversation we were having earlier about sometimes just apologise, own up to your mistakes and say,
put your hands up.
We actually got this wrong.
Yeah.
Owning what you do wrong, I think in life as well as in service is really important. If you can't say, I fucked that one up, I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you, then that's the way forward.
Yeah.
That's the way forward.
I have a big question.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about
No, we won't. I'm already married, so is he, but thank you.
It's the hair, I can't resist. You talked about the X Factor earlier. There's one place in my heart that has a lot of X Factor, it's Brighton.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience with the city. Obviously the foundations of the Bok Shop, but also the foundations of your business, your friendships were there. What's so unique about Brighton that keeps you there, that keeps you going?
I think Brighton is one, along with places like Bristol, Brighton is a very unique, youthful, vibrant city. I mean, things change and they aren't the same as they were 20 years ago when we first met, or indeed 10 years ago when the Bok Shop first started. Things evolve and change. But the thing that remains in Brighton is it's a huge attraction for other people. It's got a long history of liberalism, independence and creativity. And those things are absolutely paramount in propelling independent businesses forward as a testing ground for new things. I think both Jägermeister and a really great spirit called Tuaca Brighton was a testing ground for those things, because if it works in Brighton, it'll work anywhere else. And I think that it's got a lot of character. It's got a very forgiving and very welcoming environment to anyone. And I think that's paramount in being able to appeal to a wide demographic of people.
I think, I mean, the fact that anything goes in Brighton, you know, there's nothing that you would ever get shocked to see in the street in Brighton. You walk down the street and someone's dressed in any particular way, or they might even be naked for all the difference it'll make.
Hopefully.
No one's shocked. There's no, oh my word, what are they doing? People just get on with it. And that again, that's part of creativity. It's part of individualism. The fact that people do feel that they can be completely free in Brighton, they were not going to get judged. You know, the fact that we are, you know, very much the hub for, you know, LGBTQ, which is, it's wonderful. It adds colour to our city, which is missing in a lot of cities. You know, it's so multicultural, multi-diverse, and that brings in people that just they're willing to try things. So you can go, well, I've developed this product. Will there be anyone to give it a try? And you will find in Brighton there will be someone that will try that. Whereas there might be other cities where you just won't find anyone that will try something different because they're so used to their box and their line and their road. They'll only go that way. They won't try anything else.
It's funny because you say, talking about the diverse community, but the core word there is community, right? Is somewhere, you talk about Bristol, it's the same way. It's a sort of dying theme with this idea of cohesiveness, the community that you have. As being a student down in Brighton, it was very, very hard for me to leave the city. I know for yourself, Matt, you didn't leave the city. And that was and that sort of feeds into the question around how do you interact with your community?
Social media has always, in the last 10 years, has always been important. And in fact, to the point now, it's probably the only way to interact with a community. The two of us generally now outsource this because we're not of a generation that's so in touch with this. And I think that's a really important thing to recognise. Sometimes you can't do everything and you have to recognise your weaknesses. When I've spent my years running clubs, I wouldn't try to run the front door because I can't be a doorman. Yeah. It's not. And similarly, we neither of us from a graphic design background. Neither of us are particularly au fait with social media. So we do outsource that to someone else who's local, who's independent, who's small. For us, supporting local businesses is as important as we can. So we do that, and we have a good relationship with them. And they help us, and we work together on ideas that we can put out. But that's generally, I think, really, apart from your interactions with customers on site, the only way you can get out to a wider audience. Print media is, to all intensive purposes, non-existent anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we do also do some events.
Yes.
So we're very lucky in Brighton. There's always something going on. We get quite heavily involved with a lot of the nightclubs in Brighton. We do pop-ups, but we do pop-ups with a theme behind it. We're not there to sell fried chicken. We'll do an event. So we did one recently in a nightclub called Horizon, where we gave away shed loads of fried chicken. But we also ran a competition on stage. So we developed a sauce that I said I'd never put on the menu, which I don't think it ever will go on the menu. It's one that's so hot that if you just touch a tiny bit of it to your tongue, you're on fire for hours. And the idea was that you had to eat 10 chicken wings coated in this sauce within a minute, sat on it or stood on a stage in the middle of this nightclub. And that's a great way of just getting the name out there and people loving it. People were screaming Bok Shop, Bok Shop.
They're also screaming because they ate the really hot sauce.
Well, no, that was the people on stage. Actually, the hilarious thing was I tasted this sauce, and I'm involved in the making all of these sauces. I'm not the guy that makes it every day. Somebody else does that, but I helped develop all of the sauces. And this particular sauce, I got to the point where I couldn't even taste it anymore. I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it to myself. It's just ridiculously hot. And on stage, there were 10 people. And 9 of these people were pretty much dying by the third chicken wing. A couple of them were crying. One of them was having a bit of an issue in a bucket. And then there was this one chap who just went and ate the lot. And I'm just standing there going, what the hell is he doing? I mean, I wasn't expecting anyone to get to 10. And he just went, yeah, have you got any more?
Insane.
I couldn't believe it. And he won 150 quid.
Did you film the whole shebang?
Yeah, that was filmed. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, our social media guys got all the film because he's the one that will go out and find these events. We also do... we're very fortunate to have been invited to do a Bok Shop on the beach for the On the Beach festival that happens every year on the beach in Brighton. It's great. Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun. You know, you've got every day there's about 10,000 people coming to the beach. We stand there slinging chicken. We build a really cool tent and literally build a full kitchen on the beach.
I think that's one of the drawbacks of mobile trading, which is something that we're expanding into, which we'll talk about in a bit, is the complexity and sophistication of our operation, which to set up in a restaurant, which we can do, which Saul's proven recently that he can do very quickly and cost effectively, but to do that for a 3-day trading period is quite a hard thing to do.
It's a big operation.
Because it's too much kit to pull up in a food truck and do.
Days where it doesn't feel worth it, or...
Not there.
You're going
on the beach is definitely
right.
worth it. Yeah. But we get offered an awful lot of events where they go, could you come for a day?
Yeah.
And I go, no, it's not really going to work because for one day, even if they had 10,000 people there and we were only one of, like we are on the beach, one of 6 traders there won't be enough trade to warrant the cost of getting all the kit there and then packing it all away and all that's involved around it. 3 days we could definitely do, but one day it's just too complicated. We've tried it where we've done small events where we use a much smaller equipment, but the problem is when everyone's hungry, so
they want it at the same time.
They all want it at the same time. So when we've done those smaller events with the smaller equipment, you can't cope with the rush. Yeah. You need the big kit to cope with the rushes because it all comes in peaks and troughs, and the only way to do that is you've got to carry a 250 kilo fryer that's loaded onto the back of a tail lift. That scares me every time we pull it off that it's going to fall off the thing.
I can't picture a kiosk or a QR code in that situation because you can't make the food.
Well,
it's as simple as it is.
Though it does, that side works. Like all of that side works. But
when we take Flipdish down there, the tech works. Yeah. But also you've got to have more control over the volume of orders you're taking in than that would allow. Yeah. You've got to be able to say stop, I think.
We don't do self-nominations, but when is the festival?
So it's in, is it June?
No, it's July. It's July.
Oh, no, it's end of July. End of July, beginning of August. It's the last week of July, first week of August.
I know where I'll be on the...
Yeah, it's great. And obviously the second Saturday is always...
Yeah, it's the best. It's the only reason I go down to Brighton, of course. That's,
well, the second Saturday is always Carl Cox.
Oh,
So that's and all his get friends. So that's the one.
John Digweed last year.
Yeah, John Digweed and Carl Cox, which was great.
we could spend hours talking about the DJs.
Yeah. Well, we're very lucky that you know that's right. The guys that promote that particular festival really know their stuff. They're Joy and Louder. They are. They're really at the top of their game. Special. And it's great they invite us back every year. You know, great, keep going.
And what's the big difference? Matt earlier talked about the shift into Horsham, which took 5 weeks. Was it 5 or so weeks? Which
the physical build was 5 weeks. The physical
compared to rebuilding a whole.
We've never opened a fried chicken shop as quick as that.
I think amazing. One of the things that Saul's proved over the last 2 months is that we can prep all this, and then the Bok Shop, we can build a Bok Shop, a fully operational, smooth operating, trained Bok Shop store that has the capacity for high turnover and good quality produce in 5 weeks at a relatively cheap price. So the cost of opening the store is really reduced. Yeah. And the time in which we can lift up and put into somewhere that's obviously not just an empty shell. But if it's an existing infrastructure in there, we can put up, lift and go in, and we can have it open and operate in 5 weeks, which I think is a really good timescale to produce a business that has a very decent revenue and healthy profit margin.
And to maintain the brand, to maintain the quality, that's incredible. Why Horsham?
The main reason, if you really want to know, the main reason was the unit. Okay. It was more the unit. We'd done a lot of research in a lot of towns around Sussex. So the criteria was it had to be, relatively speaking, certainly for me, no more than about 40 minutes from my house. Yep. That's we've learnt that from past mistakes. If it's too far, I can't help. Yep. I can't be an integral part of making sure that's going to roll out properly and work properly. And so 40 minutes is a fair time to say if something's really gone wrong, if I'm there within 40 minutes, we can make that right and we've not destroyed a whole day of trade or more. Yep. The second reason that Horsham was chosen was we were looking for these towns that are near us. They had to have a minimum number of inhabitants. Right. You know, we needed to know that they could that there'd be enough people around to be able to get to the point that we can project the right turnover to warrant the cost of opening a store there. So it's a town of just over 100,000 people, which is where we needed to be at. It's got a good demographic, so the right demographics in that city. You know, we can see people that would be amenable to what we're offering, and then I suppose one of the most important things was that there was a unit there that fitted what we were looking for. So as Matthew said, not a shell structure, not something that we've got to tear back to bare brick and start again, because that's the bit that takes the longest amount of time. If you have a shell structure and you've got to build a restaurant into that, I've got to plan for how do we finish the floors, how do we get the HVAC in, how do we get the extraction in, how do we get the air in built into it, then how do we plumb the whole thing, then how do we, and all of those stages before you've even built any walls inside the place. And one of the biggest costs, toilets, cost a fortune. You know, as a general rule, it's about £15,000 a cubicle. People don't realise that when they go to a restaurant. They go, oh, these toilets are all right. A general rule is 15 grand a cubicle, and that's if you've not gone crazy and done something really amazing.
I mean, all of this is doable. We've done all of this in the past. We can do it. But I think in terms of the way the market sits right now, to replicate these things, to replicate the Bok Shop over and over again, that's the way forward for us, because investing 350 grand in the fabrication of bringing a shell just to usability, it's not money well spent for us. Yeah. It's not money well spent. And I think that makes a business inoperable a lot of the time, unless you've got a huge backer.
And the big question is, what does growth look like? What's 6, 12, 24 months? Where I would love us to be at, I'd like us, by 2027, I think we should be at 5 stores again. Yeah. I think that's the aim, is that we get back to 5 restaurant stores. So that's where we're doing delivery and eat in
in a nice, comfortable environment and all running reasonably smoothly.
And as I mentioned to you earlier, I think there's a couple of caveats to that. I think that you have to. I think that it's important to find locations where the market isn't saturated.
Yeah.
And I think that the primary point there is that you've got areas that have got a large enough population to serve us, but aren't big enough for what I'm going to call the big boys to come in and do a massive fit out. So that's the primary place we want to be, and also places that already had a bustling restaurant trade. One of the things about Horsham is that there are a lot of restaurants that are always busy there, and there are a number of towns like that throughout Sussex and throughout the UK which fit that, and it's about finding the right locations in there. And I think the other key thing is that previously for us over the last 10 years, vanity has played vanity of the project and the brand has played a fairly instrumental role in the decisions we've made. And I think from a commercial perspective, that isn't the best way to do things. I think that what we look at as an expanding business is what is financially sound for this business, not what is aesthetically and brand compelling for this.
Yeah, I think we got quite heavily bowled over with the concept of just taking brand space, that we should be the loudest in that space. But that doesn't necessarily bring you profit, because to get to that point, it costs a lot of money. And then that affects your profitability. And one of the things that we were taught many years ago when we went into business in another business altogether was turnover is vanity and profit is sanity. And the person that told us that, he'll know who he is. And it's something that we should always remember. But at the end of the day, if you're not making a profit, then you can't survive. You see a lot of companies out there going, oh, no, big companies that go, oh, no, what we want is market share. Yeah, you can do that when your turnover's billions. You can go, well, market share is more important than profit. Yeah. But when you're not turning over billions, then that's not going to
I think there's a number of things that we've proved of late. One, we honestly believe we've got the best product. There is physical product, and we've found a way to ensure its consistency, and so we can do that in multiple places at the same time. We've proved and developed a way of opening new sites cheaply and quickly, and to operate quickly without the need for build-up. And I think that they're the key aspects that are important to rolling out. Yeah. Brand awareness is very important in the locality you're in, but there's no point in having national brand awareness to roll out locally. That's an unwarranted investment from our perspective.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the first episode of Flipdish Takeaway Season 3. What a way to kick things off. There is plenty more to come from the team over at Bok Shop. Join us next week as we carry on the conversation in part 2. See you then.